Sequels are not anything new. They've been around since the 1700s, and the first film sequel was made in 1916, only 26 years after the first film camera was made. And that first sequel was not asked for by anyone and was panned by critics. For as long as film sequels have been around, they've all varied in quality. Some have been good, some have been bad, some have been necessary, and some have been unnecessary. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. Now, before we talk about unnecessary sequels, we got to understand necessary sequels. By necessary sequels, I mean sequels that were planned out beforehand and tie into the previous movies that came before them. No, not you. For example, the Avatar movies were planned to have an overarching story before the first movie left pre-production. This is a similar case for movie sagas like The Lord of the Rings and, no matter how hard they fell off, the Harry Potter movies, as they were written as books beforehand. No matter how bad some of these sequels are, they are justified in that they serve a larger, overarching story. However, there are plenty of sequels that aren't justified in coming out. Sequels that follow up on standalone stories that left no loose ends. Unnecessary sequels don't always have to be bad, and a recent example of this is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. The consensus on the first movie was mid at best, so it was safe to say that nobody asked for a follow-up. However, anyone that has seen the second movie knows that it's okay. It's alright. Other good examples of sequels that no one asked for are stuff like Spider-Man 2, Top Gun Maverick, and especially Terminator 2, which is so good that people straight up forget the first movie exists. Another batch of good, unnecessary sequels are the Star Wars prequels. Yeah, I said it. Fight me over it. Yes, these movies are flawed. Yes, a lot of the dialogue is wooden.
The Senate will decide your fate.
I am the Senate.
I should have known the Jedi were plotting to take over.
Anakin, Chancellor Palpatine is evil!
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
You're so beautiful.
It's only because I'm so in love.
No. No, it's because I'm so in love with you.
But at least the choreography's badass, and the story actually ended on a satisfying note while telling an actual cohesive story, even if that cohesive story kind of melted into jello in the middle. Now, there's a lot of dialogue that people rag on that people seem to just take at surface value. Stuff like Anakin's cringy dialogue when he met Padme again in episode 2. Now, what if I told you that the dialogue is cringy because it's supposed to be? Use your brain! This guy graduated from being a slave for 10 years to becoming a celibate warrior monk for 9 years, and you all just expected him to be able to pull? This guy wasn't even able to develop his riz because he was busy either trying to survive or training to become the best Jedi to have ever lived. Another line that people harp on a lot is Obi-Wan's,
"Only a Sith deals in absolutes."
The theme of a lot of Clone Wars-based media in Star Wars, including the prequels, is that the Jedi Order kind of fell off. Their values have depreciated and the Jedi Order has grown very hypocritical, which led to their downfall. So, isn't it not that much of a stretch to assume that Obi-Wan has been trained to follow these hypocritical values? Just something to think about. Now, I find it a lot harder to justify the Star Wars sequels, even if you despise the Star Wars prequels, even if you resent George Lucas for quote-unquote running your childhood into the ground, you cannot deny that the prequels had at least some foundation set in the original trilogy. There were several questions that the original trilogy asked, which the prequels answered. Questions like, how did Anakin Skywalker fall to the dark side? What was Obi-Wan's role in his turn? What were the Clone Wars? Did Obi-Wan have an annoying bipedal frog as his sidekick for 20 years?
Another pathetic life form.
All of these questions were answered by the prequels. However, the only question that the sequels really tried to answer was what happened after the fall of the Empire. And you don't want to know what happened? The Empire happened. Again. Death Star 3.0, Darth Vader 2, Space Nazis again.
Die Knie fallen vor der ersten Ordnung und sich an diesen besonderen Tag erinnern, als den letzten Tag der Republik.
More oppression. Yay! Great to know that the New Republic did absolutely nothing to stop the rise of another galactic empire. And after that, everything just kind of fell apart and wasn't able to be fixed. This question didn't even really need to be answered because, for the people that cared, there were Star Wars Legends, comics, video games, and other stuff that Star Wars fans could have enjoyed that answered this question much better than the sequels ever did. I'm sorry, Disney, but I care much more about Kyle Katarn than I do about Rey, or Finn, or Captain Phasma. Stupid. Anyway, the Star Wars sequel trilogy isn't the only example of a set of bad, unnecessary sequels. Other good examples include Space Jam 2,
Just like on TV.
the later Jurassic World movies, and the Hobbit trilogy. Oh boy, the Hobbit trilogy. Oh man, this is one of my favorite scenes. A stealthy, daring escape from a wood elf dungeon where Bilbo proves his worth to the dwarves by getting them all out without alerting anyone. Oh man, I can't wait to see how they do it in the movie. Okay, interesting start, I guess. Maybe Bilbo did alert the elves? Why are there orcs? Where are the wood elves? Why is Legolas here? What is this? This guy just took down 20 orcs because he fell over. What is this? What is this? What is this? So, what have we learned? Either plan a connected story from the start, or let your standalone movie stand alone. Alright, I'm out of here. Peace. Also, sorry for not covering Super Babies 2.